Greetings, friends. This is Zaid speaking. I truly hope every viewer is in good health and in a state of peace and goodness today. Our journey in this episode takes us to the deserts of Peru, a place so vast and silent that for centuries it held a mystery hidden in plain sight. This mystery is known as the Nazca Lines. Stretching across the barren plateau of southern Peru, the Nazca Lines are a series of massive geoglyphs drawn into the desert floor. They were first brought to global attention in the early 20th century, when aircraft pilots noticed strange shapes etched into the earth. Imagine flying high above the desert and suddenly seeing gigantic figures, a hummingbird, a spider, a monkey, and even geometric patterns, all visible only from the sky. These shapes range in size from a few meters to nearly 200 feet long, and the big question is, who made them? How were they made? And why? The Nazca Lines were created by removing a layer of dark stones to reveal the lighter sand beneath. This contrast between the surface stones and the inner soil is what makes the lines visible even after more than 1,000 years. The dryness of the region and the lack of strong winds helped preserve these drawings in remarkable condition. Scientists date most of these geoglyphs to between 500 BCE and 500 CE. They are attributed to the Nazca culture, a pre-Columbian civilization known for its pottery, its irrigation systems, and its mastery of desert survival. But the deeper purpose behind the lines remains one of archaeology's greatest puzzles. Some researchers believe the lines were ritual pathways used for ceremonial walking and offerings. Others suggest they align with astronomical events, such as the solstices and equinoxes, helping the Nazca people track seasons for agriculture. There is also the idea that they were a form of communication with deities or even giant artworks meant to be seen by gods from above. Before we move to our today, I want to say that this channel is user-friendly, no offensive content, no misinformation. We explain things with respect, curiosity, and authenticity. In this way, we dive not only into mystery, but also into the fascinating history of human creativity. When researchers first studied the Nazca Lines closely, they were struck not just by their size, but by their extraordinary precision. Many of the straight lines stretch for kilometers, running so perfectly across the desert that they almost look like they were drawn with modern tools. Yet they were created over 1,500 years ago, using nothing more than wooden stakes, rope, and human determination. How was such accuracy possible? Archaeologists discovered that the Nazca people likely placed wooden stakes into the ground as markers. By lining up the stakes and removing the darker topsoil, they could carve out long, straight lines with surprising ease. In fact, some of these ancient stakes have actually been found in the desert soil. Serving as evidence of this technique, the designs themselves fall into two categories. The first group includes straight lines, trapezoids, spirals, and simple geometric forms. The second group contains the more famous figures: the hummingbird, the condor, the spider, the whale, the monkey, and even a figure that resembles a human, often called the astronaut, because of its round head and raised hand. The precision of these drawings raises questions. For example, the hummingbird stretches nearly 300 feet in length, yet the proportions are balanced and elegant. The spider has long legs, and researchers noticed one of its legs extends much further than the others, a feature some believe is linked to an ancient astronomical calendar. This connection between the geoglyphs and the sky has fascinated scholars for decades. One leading researcher, Maria Reicher, devoted her entire life to studying the Nazca Lines. She argued that many of the figures and pathways were aligned with constellations and solar events. According to her, the desert floor was not just an empty canvas, it was a giant observatory. used to understand the heavens and the cycles of time. But not all experts agree. Some argue the lines were more ritualistic, meant to be walked upon during ceremonies that honored water deities. This makes sense because the Nazca lived in a dry desert environment where survival depended on irrigation and rainfall. Perhaps the drawings were prayers etched into the earth, massive offerings to gods who controlled water and fertility. Others add another possibility, that these figures were messages between communities, a way of marking sacred spaces, or even symbols of group identity. The truth may be a mixture of all these ideas, astronomy, ritual and culture, woven together into something we may never fully decode. The more we learn, the more the Nazca Lines remind us of how deeply ancient people understood both their land and their skies. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Nazca Lines is how they remained hidden from the wider world for so long. Locals always knew of their existence, but because the figures are so large, they cannot be recognized properly from ground level. It was only in the 1920s, when pilots flew over the desert during commercial flights, that the true scale of these geoglyphs was revealed. Imagine the shock of looking down from the sky, expecting only sand and rocks, but suddenly seeing massive drawings like a giant hand stretching across the desert. That discovery opened the door to decades of research, speculation, and awe. Today, the Nazca Lines are considered one of the most important archaeological sites in South America. UNESCO declared them a World Heritage Site in 1994, recognizing both their cultural value and their vulnerability. Although they survived for centuries untouched, modern threats such as urban expansion, illegal vehicle traffic, and even climate change pose dangers to their preservation. In fact, some incidents in recent years have shown just how fragile the lines really are. Heavy rainfall in 2019, caused by unusual weather, damaged parts of the geoglyphs, and in 2014, a human rights protest left footprints and marks on the surface that scarred the desert floor. These events reminded the world that even something that has lasted for more than 1,000 years can be harmed within minutes. But science has also brought new insights. In the last decade, researchers using drone technology and satellite imaging have discovered more than 100 previously unknown geoglyphs. These smaller, fainter figures include animals such as birds, cats, and even snakes. Some are so eroded that they can only be detected through modern scanning. This shows us that the Nazca culture's artwork was even more extensive than previously imagined. One new geoglyph found in 2020 was of a large cat figure, drawn across a hillside near Nazca. It dates back more than 2,000 years, and its discovery proved that the desert still hides secrets, waiting to be uncovered. Each discovery adds to the puzzle. Were these geoglyphs connected in a vast system of ritual sites? Were some older and others newer, created across generations, to maintain cultural traditions? And why did this practice fade away? What caused the people of Nazca to stop drawing their sacred symbols into the earth? The more evidence emerges, the more the Nazca Lines appear not as a single mystery, but as a living archive of an ancient civilization, an archive we are only just beginning to read. The Nazca Lines continue to inspire wonder because they challenge our imagination. How could a society without airplanes, without satellites, and without modern surveying tools create designs that can only be fully appreciated from the sky? One possible answer lies in their worldview. The Nazca culture may not have needed to see the figures from above. For them, the act of creating the lines, walking the paths, marking the desert, and inscribing symbols into the earth was itself a spiritual practice. The drawings were not simply art for human eyes. They were offerings for divine forces, a bridge between the world of people and the world of gods. This perspective is supported by the presence of ancient aqueducts and ceremonial centers near the geoglyphs, suggests a society deeply connected to both survival and spirituality. They lived in one of the driest deserts on Earth, where water meant life. The lines may have represented prayers, giant messages asking for fertility, rain, and balance with nature. And yet we cannot ignore the cosmic dimension. Several studies point out that many lines align with solstices, star paths, and horizon markers. Whether or not the Nazca people used them as a massive calendar, it is clear they had a profound understanding of the connection between Earth and sky. Today, archaeologists, historians, and scientists continue to study the Nazca Lines with drones, 3D mapping, and soil analysis. Each year reveals new shapes, new alignments, and new mysteries. It is a reminder that history is never truly finished. It continues to unfold. Just as the desert still whispers secrets from thousands of years ago, all the information we provide comes from verified historical sources, including books, records, and archaeology. Sources used for this narration: UNESCO World Heritage Center, Nazca Lines documentation, Maria Reich's studies published in Mystery on the Desert, 1949 updated editions, National Geographic reports on Nazca Lines, Discoveries 2019-2023, Peruvian Ministry of Culture, Archaeological Findings with Drone Mapping 2018-2021, Journal of Archaeological Science Research on Geoglyph Dating and Soil Preservation. Friends, if you enjoyed this exploration, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Thrones of Knowledge. And do not forget to press the bell icon so you are notified on time. Also, tell us in the comment section what topic you would like us to uncover next, because your suggestions make this journey even more meaningful.